Round of 5-minute questions, and we'll start with Senator Lankford.
Thank you to all of you for being here and for going through this process. It is a long, arduous process with lots of paperwork and lots of questions that has actually led you to this moment. And then we're going to expeditiously work through this process on the hearing as well today. So a question for a few of you. Mr. Forst, let me start with you on this. The GSA is exceptionally important to us in many ways in getting information details, but one of those deals with real property. The federal government owns way too much property, but it has been a challenge for us to be able to sell property off or to be able to make it available and to be able to get it off our books. With $38 trillion in total debt as a nation now, we've got to stop owning things we don't use. So what is your thoughts and your plans for how to be able to help through the real property disposition?
Senator Lankford, thank you very, very much for the question. And I appreciate the question, and I actually think the career staff at GSA appreciates that question and the motivation behind it as well. I think as the committee is aware, the federal government controls through GSA about 8,800 properties, of which we own 1,500 properties. And I think the analysis for the proper footprint of the government extends also beyond what we own into what we lease as well. What's the right size, what's the right mission of the real estate for the government of today and the government of tomorrow and tomorrow's tomorrow? We have 350 million feet of real estate that we control. That's gargantuan. It probably makes us the biggest real estate owner. And GSA doesn't control all the federal real estate in that way. We have so many constituents of interest. We have return to work orders in place. And there's a tremendous amount of work to do in terms of looking at the stock of real estate, but also the condition of the real estate that we own. When we are a tenant in someone else's property and they're our landlord, we're very demanding in terms of the condition of the property, so it meets the needs on an ongoing basis. When we're the landlord and we own the property, I'd say we're somewhat deficient. Yeah. In the GSA annual report, we show $24 billion of deferred maintenance. Deferred maintenance is a very gentle term for, I'll say, delinquent maintenance in that way, of which $6 billion is urgently needed, it says, over 1 to 2 years. I think we have to take whole stock of exactly what we own, the mission of each one of our constituent clients, and then to determine the appropriate way to move forward. I'll say one more thing, if I may. Yeah. GSA is the tip of the spear in federal real estate. We can't actually return to work all of our people into our building because about 25% of it has been deemed uninhabitable. Yeah. That's because we have deferred maintenance.
So we've got to get that off the roll. And I would tell you one of the areas I've worked on for years is dealing with areas like our border facilities. The CBP owns some of those border facilities. GSA owns some of those. The GSA ones are not being well maintained, and sometimes they're not designed well on it, so we're not getting the cooperation we need in some areas. So that'll be one of the areas I will come back to you later to be able to figure out how do we actually manage that in the days ahead. And so I appreciate your engagement on this. For the IGs that are here, thanks for stepping up. Thankless, difficult job to say the least. You're selected by the president, you are confirmed by the Congress, but you are the eyes and ears for the American people in each of these agencies, and there is an expectation you work independently because the American taxpayer expects somebody to be able to be in the agency, to be able to look around, to give recommendations how to be more efficient, where there's not only inefficiency, but illegal activity or inappropriate activity. So there is an expectation you work for the American people to be effective in those roles. So thanks for stepping up to be able to do that. I really do appreciate you taking on that task on it. For the folks that are in the court, they're stepping in for the D.C. court. Mr. Trong, you are one of the few people on a planet with 6 billion people that was nominated by President Trump, nominated then by President Biden, and now you're here a third time for a third nomination from President Trump. I bet there's not many people on this planet that's been nominated 3 times and twice by Trump and once by Biden on that. So you've been in this committee before and you know full well what I'm going to ask you because I've asked you before on it. How are you going to run your court in such a way that people get faster access to justice? We've got 12 openings that are there in the court. There's an enormous backlog in the D.C. court. People expect justice, but they also expect when they get to court, they're going to actually have their day in court and not have an attorney ask for a continuance, and they never actually get their day in court. So how are you going to run your court in such a way that people get justice?
Senator, your question crystallizes the issues, 2 critical issues confronting Superior Court. That is the backlog, which then affects how people get access to justice. if I were to be fortunate enough to be confirmed,
Finally.
finally, I will make sure that I am prepared every day to rule on the cases in front of me. I would make sure that I communicate effectively to the parties, litigants appearing before me. And one of those communications would be in the form of a standing orders to articulate the expectations to the parties that when they appear for a hearing, for a case status, or for a trial, that they are prepared to go. And so those expectations would be set forth clearly and in advance. So I believe that is one of the tools that I tend to use in order to make sure that cases are moved quickly so that people who appear before me have a day in court.
Great, thank you. Thank you to all of your families that are here as well and those that are watching, and thanks for going through this. Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Senator Peters.